Tulsi Gabbard called Kamala Harris out on her prosecutorial record. This was something that I would assume Kamala Harris would expect, but she did seem a little caught off guard. So first, let's go to what Tulsi Gabbard listed as issues in Kamala Harris's record.
Congresswoman Gabbard, you took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
She came with receipts. That was her strongest moment by far. I'm gonna be honest, in other answers, she seemed timid. When it came to criminal justice reform of all things, it seems like Tulsi Gabbard is hyper-focused on going after Kamala Harris, right? So prior to this debate, she went after Kamala Harris's temperament when it came to foreign policy decisions, which I thought was interesting and kind of out of left field. I didn't expect that. And then in this debate, she immediately went after a prosecutorial record. And just to kind of provide some evidence to what Gabbard is saying here, let's go to this 2014 video. It was a local news reporter who asked Kamala Harris about marijuana legalization. Take a look.
Your opponent, Ron Gold, has said that he is for the legalization of marijuana recreationally. Your thoughts on that?
That he's entitled to his opinion.
So that was the moment where she laughed. And remember, a lot of people have been placed in prison for marijuana possession, and most of them are people of color.
It was 2 years later that the electorate in California voted for marijuana legalization.
Yes.
This thing that was so absurd to Kamala Harris that she had to crack up when she was asked about it.
It gives an indication of now this is not, I was talking earlier about the way that politicians will act once they're in office versus what they're saying. This in past, what their past done, this is an indication of potentially how a lot of politicians act. They won't do it until electorate does it.
Right.
They'll say, oh yeah, I was totally for it the whole time. Same thing happened with like gay marriage. Yeah,
they find a parade and then they jump out in front of it and say they were leading it.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
and that's the problem, because they're too afraid, honestly, of doing doing the thing that they actually believe in. No one really knows what they believe in because they won't say it.
And this is Kamala Harris's MO, frankly. This is someone who is incredibly cautious while in office and set up her career to do nothing to offend anyone that might be able to help her in any way down the road, or hurt her for that matter. I think what we're seeing is a result of that record, because as much as you can talk about her criminal justice record and how it was punitive to the least of us, you can do the flip side and talk about how lenient it was to the wealthy and the well-connected, and particularly those in the financial services.
And if she's not ready for it, if she's on the stage next time with Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, you're gonna get it again. So again, go on Twitter. They're talking about it, Kamala. You can figure out what the next attack may be. And also, I'm sorry, one last thing.
Go ahead.
Tulsi, I think, did also take this opportunity because I'm not sure if I thought it, or a bunch of people must have said it. There was a lot of openings on Kamala last time that no one took. And if anything, Tulsi Gabbard's campaign said, hey, here's an opening. You catapult yourself by going after the one that's above you. That's what Kamala did on Biden in that first debate. So this was a wide open shot. It's like this one of the front runners is standing with their guard down. Swing. That's all.
Another level, it's sort of the absurdity of this whole debate process. I mean, the question was actually about Biden.
Right.
She turned it around to make it about Harris.
Yeah.
The question was, you go fight with Biden. Right. She went and fought with someone else.
Which is so fascinating, because you're right. It was in the context of Biden, and then she decides to pivot and attack Kamala Harris. I think Kamala Harris's record is fair game, but also think about the whole context of this election. she decided to defend Biden when it came to his answers about working with segregationists. She decided to continue defending Biden when it came to what he tried to do with those segregationists. I just thought that was an interesting and unexpected defense of Biden. No one else was interested in doing that. Right. And then in this case, instead of going after Biden, and by the way, he's also a target-rich environment when it comes to criminal justice in America. She decides, no, I'm gonna go ahead and ignore Biden. I'm gonna attack Kamala Harris. You're right. I mean, I feel like this is more about political strategy than having a principled stance on this, and that troubles me. Anyway, with that said, though, Kamala Harris did respond. So let's hear if her response was convincing.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about re-entering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only decriminalize, but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring Congresswoman Gabbard back in. Your response,
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
That was a strong moment for Tulsi.
Well,
I'm just keeping it real.
I mean, the Harris answer was the kind of answer where you speak very, very sharply, so you hope that everyone forgets what was just said about you, because it bore no resemblance to the charges that were made. And I mean, it's pretty clear. There's a very long record here, going back to her as DA of San Francisco, where she sent flyers with gang members on them to try to win that election. Of her being essentially a tough on crime prosecutor and district attorney, and it bled over into the Attorney General's office. So I mean, there's not much to it. There's not much ability to escape this here.
So with that said, I do want to provide one other example, because I've asked myself, are we being overly judgmental of her record? Because I've heard from some of our viewers, people who are concerned that maybe you're holding Kamala Harris to a different standard compared to other candidates or other prosecutors in the country. But the fact of the matter is, she made a decision. I mean, this came from her to take a punitive approach to things that shouldn't have been criminalized, should not have been punished the way that they were punished. And one prime example of that was the whole truancy issue, right? So she decided, well, look, we need to get kids to school, which I agree with. It's important to get kids to school. If there are too many truancies, that's a problem, and we need to find ways to mitigate it. But her solution to mitigating it was going after the parents and putting them behind bars. And she bragged about it. Take a look.
Would not be standing here were it not for the education I received. And I know many of us will say the same thing. And I believe a child going without an education is tantamount to a crime. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. Well, this was a little controversial in San Francisco. And frankly, my staff went bananas. They were very concerned because we didn't know at the time whether I was going to have an opponent in my re-election race. But I said, look, I'm done. This is a serious issue, and I've got a little political capital, and I'm going to spend some of it. And this is what we did. We recognized that in that initiative, as a prosecutor and law enforcement, I have a huge stick. The school district has got a carrot. Let's work in tandem around our collective objective and goal, which is to get those kids in school.
Look, the objective and goal is a good one. Putting mothers behind bars is not a good one, and mothers did serve time behind bars for this. So what is the root issue? Are mothers just bad mothers? They don't want their kids to go to school? Or is there some other underlying issue? Maybe it's a single mom who's working several jobs, who just does not have the resource. Maybe the car broke down. Maybe there are certain obstacles in the way, right? Putting them behind bars, you think that's gonna make the kid's life better?
Maybe the kid's not going to school because he's working, because he has to help support the family. Things like that happen. So yeah, again, this is one of those instances where it does show what the potential candidate may be as a leader of the country. Are you not looking at the root causes of the problem, or are you just looking to punish people over it? That's where we get things like, and I don't want to compare it to him because I don't think she would go this far. That's where you get things like child separation at the border from. You think, let's go ahead and separate them. I bet that'll stop them. And what did that do? Cause a firestorm. You have to think about what you're doing.
Right, and think about whether the punitive actions are actually gonna exacerbate the issue or exacerbate the problem.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.